discourse, the brother asked for the king's leave, and left the world, and not long after found salvation. Thera. Somamitta. Adapted from the Archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Somamitta. Reborn in this Buddha age at Benares, in a Brahmin's family and named Somamitta, he became an expert in the 3 Vedas, but achieved Sotapana by the Thera Vimala and took monk's orders. He lived near the Thera, fulfilling his duties. But the latter was given to sloth and torpor. And Somamitta, thinking, who can be virtuous near a sluggard? Went to Kassapa the Great, and attending his lectures, established insight, and soon after attained arahantship. Upon that he rebuked Vimala in these verses. As one who, climbed on a small plank, is in mid-ocean went beneath the waves. So even he of blameless life did sink, when thrown together with the man of sloth. For that reason from such an one keep well apart, the sluggard and the poor in energy. Live you with them who live aloof, with wise, with noble ones who have renounced, who in rapt meditation ever strive. Hearing him, Thera Vimala was deeply moved, and establishing insight, bestirred himself to win salvation, the which he will be seen hereafter to attain. Thera. Somamitta. Adapted from the Archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Somamitta. Reborn in this Buddha age in the family of a Brahmin of Savatthi, and named Somamitta, he saw, at the presentation of the Jeta grove, the wondrous power of the Buddha, and entering the monk's order he obtained a subject for exercise and lived in the forest. After the rains he went into Savatthi, to salute the Buddha, and on his way there lay a fawn caught in a trapper's net. The doe, though not in the net, kept near from love for her young, yet dared not come close to the trap. The fawn, turning here and there, bleated for pity. Then the Thera. Alas! The suffering that love brings to creatures. Going further he saw many bandits wrapping a man they had captured alive in straw, and about to set fire to it. Hearing his cries, the Thera, out of his distress at both these things, uttered a verse within hearing of the bandits. Folk are bound up with folk and cling to folk. Folk suffer harm from folk and wreak the same. What benefits you then from this folk, and offspring of folk? Let the folk go and get you gone from them, who as they go injure so many folk. So saying, he forced his way to insight, and won arahantship. But the robbers, listening to his teaching, were moved in heart and renounced the world, practicing the path in principle and in detail. Thera. Mahakala. Adapted from the Archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Mahakala. Reborn in this Buddha age at the town of Setavaya, in the family of a merchant, he was named Mahakala. When come of age and living at home, he took 500 carts of merchandise to trade with to Savatthi. While resting there with his men in the evening, he saw the lay people going with perfumes and garlands to the Jeta grove, and went with them. There he heard the Lord preach the path, believed, and entered the monk's order. Deciding on cremation ground meditation, he lived in the charnel field. And one day a woman named Kali, employed as cremation lady, in order to give the Thera an object study, cut off from a recently cremated body both thighs and both arms, and breaking the head into the resemblance of a milk bowl, arranged all the members together, placed them where the Thera studied for him to look at, and sat down at the side. The Thera seeing this taught himself in these verses. Kali, woman broad and big, of hue as blackbird, now has broken off a thigh bone, now another. Now has broken off an arm, and now another. Now the skull has broken off as it was a milk bowl. Made him ready and is seated. He who witless did not understand, but makes cause for life renewed, comes back again to sorrow. For that reason he who knows creates no more new causes. May I never so lie again with scattered members. Thus holy cell mastered, the Thera brought forth insight and won arahantship. Thera. Tissa. Adapted from the Archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Tissa. Reborn in this Buddha age at Rajagaha. In a Brahmin's family, and named Tissa, he became an expert in the Vedas, teaching the mantras to 500 Brahmin boys, and winning the highest praise and renown. When the Lord came to Rajagaha, Tissa saw the Buddha majesty, and believed and entered the monk's order, thereafter winning arahantship through established insight. So also he won praise and renown. Now certain worldly-minded bhikkhus noting the attention paid to the Thera were unable to endure it. The Thera knew this, and declared the evil in such attentions and his own detachment from that in these verses. Many the foes he gets, the bhikkhu shorn, wrapped in his robe, to whom the world gives gifts of food and drink, dress and where to lodge. Let him then, knowing all the bane herefrom, the fearsome peril in the world's regard, taking but little, free from lusting's stain, wary and mindful, hold his onward way. Then those bhikkhus straightway sought the Thera's forgiveness. Thera. Kimbila. Adapted from the Archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Kimbila. His meeting with the Buddha, his emotion and his leaving the world are told in chapter 1. The verse beginning, as reminded by some power. Here the Thera tells how he lived fraternally with his comrades, the Venerable Anuruddha and the Venerable Bhadya, Sakya and Rajas. Where lies the eastern bamboo grove we live. Sons of the Sakyans, comrades all and true. No little wealth have we renounced for this. Contented with whatever fills our bowl. Quickened and ardent is our energy. Earnest and resolute our heart's intent. Ever we boldly press toward our goal. Love of the path our sure and sole delight. All worldly loves by us forsworn outright. Thera. Nanda. Adapted from the Archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Nanda. Reborn in this Buddha age at Kapilavatthu, as the son of Raja Suddhodana and of great Pajapati, and a joy to his kin, on his naming day he was named Nanda. When Nanda was of age, the Lord, rolling the wheel of the path, came out of compassion to Kapilavatthu. Making a shower of rain the occasion, he told the Vesantara Jataka. On the second day, by the verse, "Rise up," he established his father as a stream winner. Pajapati also by the verse, "Follow after a holy life," and the Raja further, as a once returner. On the third day, when seeking alms at the coronation hall where congratulations were being offered to Prince Nanda on his wedding, the Lord handed the prince his bowl and wished him luck. And he, taking the bowl, followed the Lord to the Vihara, who there initiated him into monkhood, though Nanda wished it not. From that time, knowing that Nanda was oppressed by his distaste, the Lord trained it away, so that Nanda, by thoroughgoing meditation, established insight and attained arahantship. Thereafter, enjoying the bliss of liberty, be said, "O excellent method of the Lord, by which I was drawn out of the bog of rebirth and set on Nibbana's path." And joying in his reflections he uttered these verses. Heedless and shallow once my thoughts were set. on all the boldness of outward show. Weak was I and not serious. All my days were worn with wanton sensuality. But by the Buddha's skillful art benign, who of son's lineage comes, was I brought to live by deeper thought, by which my heart from life I drew. And the exalted one, discerning how eminently he was trained in self-control, declared him before the monk's order to be chief in that among his disciples, even in that conferring that distinction to which the Thera, in past ages, had once aspired. Adapted from the Archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Thera. Siramat. Siramat. Reborn in this Buddha age at Savatthi, in an aristocrat's family, he was named Siramat because of his family's good fortune and constant success. His younger brother, as increaser of that good fortune, was named Sirivadha. They both saw the majesty of the Buddha when the Jeta grove was presented, believed in his path, and entered the monk's order. Sirivadha, though at first he won no abnormal powers, was honored and supplied by lay people and recluses. But Siramat, through defective karma, was little honored. Nevertheless, exercising himself in calmness and insight, he soon won the sixfold abhina. Now the ordinary bhikkhus and novices, not knowing Siramat was an Aryan, continued to criticize him and to honor his brother. Then the Thera, blaming their faulty judgment, said, "Others may applaud and honor him, whose self is uncontrolled. Surely amiss their praise is given, since self is uncontrolled. Others may scold and criticize him, whose self is well controlled. Surely amiss their blame is given, since self is well controlled." Then Sirivadha, hearing him, was agitated, and establishing insight, not long after he also completed his salvation. And they who had blamed the Thera sought his forgiveness. Thera. Uttara. Adapted from the Archaic translation by Mrs.